we live in a world where so much people's thoughts are shared just across the internet, right? Like, you have Twitter where everybody's talking about what they want to talk about. You have Reddit, a public forum where people are just spewing out any opinion on whatever, like based on their own viewpoint, based on their own mental models, and they just say whatever they want to say. And it's gotten to a point where people are have so much easy access to these thoughts and opinions that it's easier to latch onto other people's thoughts and opinions than to create their own. And I think it's so important to just cut yourself away from all social media, cut yourself away from all thoughts and other people, just for a short period of time for topics that are actually important to you, and just sit there and think about it for yourself. Don't use your phone. Don't read a book. Don't do it with anyone. Get into your own room. Get into a space where you have privacy, right? And just think about the things that you actually need to think about. Whether that's your goals, whether that's your viewpoints, whether that's politics, what you want to do, it doesn't matter, right? Stop latching onto other people's opinions, because everybody else, when they just chit chatter into your ear, it's so easy just to cling on to it and just agree with it, because it's easier to just be like, oh yeah, that's true, and just never do any, like, if someone tells you some bullshit and then you go with it because maybe you don't have a lack of knowledge on the subject, or you maybe just don't care about it enough, whatever. If you just, it's easier to be like, oh yeah, I agree, that's true, and then never look really into it. And if it's something that you actually care about and you didn't even look into it, you just took their opinion, you don't know what's right and what's wrong, because they don't even know what's right or wrong. They're just saying whatever they probably have read on the internet as well. And so it's so important to just get into the habit of thinking for yourself, creating your own thoughts, because you don't want to be a sheep. Like, sheep mentality is a real thing. Like, the amount of people, like, I'll see like a video on TikTok and it'll be viral, and everybody in the comments will be like, oh yeah, this was a while ago, but like people in the comments will be like, yeah, this is so true, this and that. And a couple weeks later, I'll hear people talk in real life, like some girls saying the same thing that girl in the video was saying. I was like, you did not think of this thought. This thought wasn't yours at all, and the only reason you think like this is because you saw that video. Or like, I'll see girls, and I see it more commonly with girls. I don't know why. Maybe it's just on like my fault. I don't know, right? But I'll see like girls will have no interest in certain topics, and then they get a boyfriend, and suddenly all of his interests are her interests. It's like, what kind of sheep mentality is that? You just let go of all the things that you cared about and talked about before, and now you're talking about cars and insurance and real estate and stocks. It's like, no, bitch. Like, you didn't, like, none of these interests are yours. Like, you just took it from someone else because you just absorbed everything everybody else. And that's like a very strong key of a weak personality and a weak mind, because how could you have had all these interests growing up and all these thoughts and opinions about certain things, and when you just meet one person, they change all of it? Now you're talking about things that you never talked about, never researched, never interested in. And it's like, I hate just hearing regurgitated thoughts, because if you ever, like, say someone told me a thought that they absorbed from someone else, and it was a topic that I actually cared about, not only will it probably sound wrong to me, but when I press them on it, they will not know how to defend themselves. You know why? Because it wasn't a thought that they actually made on their own. If I have thoughts, it's all because I thought of them, and it might not be heavily agreeable, it might not be accurate, it might not be correct, but it was a thought that I thought of. And as long as I have an open mind into changing my mind, if I hear someone else's opinion on it that also has interest in it, then you're fine. But if you're like small-minded and you're like, this is my thought, this is my opinion, I won't change it, that's the wrong mindset to have. You need to think of your own thoughts and opinions so that you can express it and actually have good flowing conversation, and just having your own thoughts be like put into the world per se, right? Because if you just agree with everybody else, you agree with one person, another person agrees with another person, like, it just all becomes a chain reaction of everybody saying the same bullshit, and then eventually becomes such a like big movement, and it might not even be the correct way to do things, it might not be the correct way of thinking through things, or whatever the case may be. But I don't know, I just hate the thought of sheep mentality, because I don't ever want to be like everybody else. Like, I want to be my own person, I want to have my own thoughts, I want to express my own opinions, and if it's not the right one, unless you have the right information to change my mind, it's gonna be what I'm gonna stick to, right? And on top of that, I think a lot of that comes from the just watching too much TV shows, watching too much movies, watching too much being on social media way too active, like TikTok, Instagram, not even Instagram that much, but TikTok and Twitter. Oh my god, the amount of bullshit that is spread on those apps. It's like, I remember hearing a example of what Twitter really is. It's like, imagine somebody went to the park and they were to like start saying a bunch of crazy stuff out into the public, and everybody like passing by and walking by be like, oh, that guy is crazy, no one listen to him, right? Maybe one person would like listen to him, be like, oh yeah, you know what, this is kind of true, whatever, this and that. and that's because the area is local, right? So there's only a certain amount of people there. So like even if the crazy person was speaking truth, the amount of people there isn't enough people that agree with him, right? But when you're on the internet, on Twitter, when you spew out a crazy thought, there's enough people in the world where somebody's gonna agree with you, and it's not just somebody; it'll be a group of people. So like, let's just say 1% of people will agree with crazy thoughts. 1% of whatever 100 people are there in the park is only one, but 1% of like the millions of people on Twitter, that's a lot of people, right? So, and then once it starts becoming that widespread, it's so much easier to push because it becomes like a group versus like a singular person. Like even like you could be in an argument like me versus like 10 people, and I could be right, but because those 10 people agree with each other, it's hard to argue with all 10 of them because they're just all pounding and pounding, right? So the point is, you need to cut out the noise. You need to stay away from people's thoughts on social media just by cutting out the app completely. I think that's the best way to do it. Just like I've seen myself, like I feel like I just have so much opinions and viewpoints that are similar to people on the internet or from TV shows, and then I realized they were all fucking wrong. And it's because like growing up, I consumed so much of that content. Like I would be like perfect examples, like in high school I used to think like when I was a freshman I couldn't talk to the seniors, or I couldn't talk to the juniors because they were older and cooler or whatever. And that's like something spewed on like Disney and the movies where they're like, yeah, don't talk to the seniors, don't talk this and that. And it's like in real life it's nothing like that. If I talked to the seniors and juniors, they would have been cool. When I was a senior and junior, if a freshman asked me for advice, I would have gave it to him, right? But it's just like this weird mentality they feed you from like how things are and how things really are. It's like the perception they had and the perception that it was cool, or like the way parties are portrayed in movies and shows is never how it's like in real life. Same thing with the club. So it's like, I'm telling you, the best thing for you to do is just cut out the noise, have your own thoughts, and it allows you to think so much more like fluently, and it just feels so much better to form your own thoughts because it starts leading to ideas. And with the right ideas comes the right mindset, comes the right personality, comes the right business. So you just really need to get into a mind where you're creating your own thoughts for your own benefit. And once you start cutting out the noise, you almost enjoy it so much more because you think like, oh yeah, going through Instagram, people's thoughts are so funny, this and that, so entertaining. But it's so much more entertaining when you are at peace with yourself and at ease with yourself because you know how you think, you know how you operate, you know what you like and what your interests are. It's not like you're not like having to pick up random shit from everybody else. Getting married, people are getting married this and there, people are sharing their achievements, their accolades or whatever. When you cut out the noise, you don't take their opinions, you don't take their thoughts, you don't need to take in their comparisons and how their life is. Because everybody's life is different. No matter, everything depends on everything. So like the way you were born, where you were born, your address, your parents, all those things make each individual so different that comparing yourself to someone else makes no sense at all. So just don't do it at all. And it's really hard to be like, yeah, but I know we're all very specific and we're all like snowflakes, we're all very different from one each other, so comparing doesn't make sense. But that guy's my age and he's a millionaire. Oh, this girl's my age and she's married. It's like, it's so easy to compare when it's right in front of you. So when you cut it out, you get so much benefits. You don't have to compare, you don't take other people's thoughts, you don't you can actually think for yourself because you're not having all like, it's literally called noise. Like think about it, like if you're in a room where everybody's talking, imagine, right? You're in the middle and everybody's talking some random bullshit that you might not care about, that has no, like you have no interest in, whatever. It just sounds like noise. And that's exactly what social media is, but you're voluntarily like trying to listen to the noise because you're the one clicking on the app, you're the one scrolling. You could have easily been like, you know what, like you said, a time limit of 1 minute, not use the app at all, right? It's canceled out, whatever the case may be. I'm telling you, think about it. It's just so much better cutting out the noise, forming your own thoughts, and living to your truest potential because you are in your own head properly and operating how you need to operate about things that you can actually care about.